So we are now in ZBrush. This course takes into consideration that you already know a bit of ZBrush. So knowing the basics at least will get you a long way. I suggest if you're completely new to ZBrush, you probably should search some starting up tutorials on ZBrush. I'm going to document everything that I do, but it's still better for you to know your way around the software. Now, for our purpose here, the first thing I like to do is just to change my UI in order to make it work, because ZBrush is a beast of a software, like very big, and you can easily get lost on all the menus if you're trying to search everything that I have exposed in my UI. Now this UI here is the default UI that ships with ZBrush, and we're going to change it a bit in order to fit our purpose so that we are faster and more efficient at work. So what we're going to do first is go up here to Preferences, Config, and Enable the Customize. Enable Customize simply does is basically you hold Control and Alt, and you can start to move things around. For example, if I don't like this button here, I can just drag it over there, which is what I'm going to do. Okay? Things that you don't need, you can actually just Control Alt and drag them onto the canvas, and they will disappear. So we don't need those. I don't need these camera settings here, neither these. If you hold Control only and click, you can slide this. So expose is something we don't need as well. Let's just bring it down more or less to this height, and we don't need the rotate, we don't need the zoom, we don't need the move, and the frame we don't need as well. We can just click the F button and we'll get it. So these here we might need, so we're just gonna move it down. Important that you actually put them to the side so that it doesn't start to stretch your UI too much. So I'm just putting them there. Now I'm gonna click on sphere here, drag on the canvas sphere, and then click on edit here, which is the same as if you click T on your keyboard. And now we have basically ZBrush started up for us to work on this sphere. If we just click make polymesh 3D, we now activated everything that ZBrush has, and we are ready to start manipulating the object. So let's see what we're going to do first. I'm going to remove this home page from here. I don't need it. I don't need the stroke. I don't need the alpha. I don't need this texture. I don't need the gradient. I don't need this and that, and we don't need this either as well. Okay, and now that we're pretty clean, I can start to add stuff. So to open and save projects, you're going to need the file open. I'm going to put it right there, and the save as well. Okay, and I'm going to go up to this material slot here. I'm just going to put it down there, click the guy, and just choose the matte cap white, which is somewhere around here, this one. And after you select it, you can just save it as startup material. So every time ZBrush will open, it will start with this material. Awesome. Now the color palette, we can just put it here. We might need it. Okay. And now we're going to start to go get the texture here from this menu. I'm just going to try and put them right in the middle there. And the transparent factor here as well. Okay. And the flip V, which is on the UV map, adjust flip V, we're going to put it right under. Cool. Then we have the mask by features, so masking, mask by feature here, and this actually requires these 3 buttons, which basically we're just going to need to turn them off at some stage. Well, I dragged 2 borders in there, so we need the groups here. Great. Then we're going to go to brush, and we're going to go to depth, and we're going to put this here in case we use any INM brushes, which are insert mesh brushes. On our export settings, sometimes we have to turn off these 2 settings when we export, so we're just going to put them there. 1, 2. Leaving some room there is fine. Then on the UV map again, we can put the morph UV right under. We can go to the brush and choose the Echo curve. This helps us a lot with the move tool. And on the materials, just in case sometimes we change it, we can just go to the material tab and drag this material right there. Now you see this button is wide, and in here it actually would be fine, but once we start putting stuff over here, it's not going to be that fine. So what we need to do is actually go to Preferences, Interface, and where it says UI, white buttons, you just click and it goes away. By going away, I mean the button becomes smaller, right? Now, apart from this, we're going to go to our brushes here, and we're going to start selecting the brushes as well. So let me just see if we can select several, see if they appear here. Yeah, so the select lasso, we're going to put right there. Select rect, we're going to put right there. Then we have the mask pen as well, which we need. And then we control shift. Now we actually click hold control and click to select the mask lasso, and now the mask lasso will appear here as well. And we drag it over. Well, it didn't work. Control alt and drag. Go. Okay. So apart from that, we also need the two move tools. So we need the move, which is this move, and we need the move topological tool. Now that we click both, they're going to appear here. So we're going to drag the move over there, and the move topological as well to here. Okay. These are the main brushes we're going to use in the selection tools for masking and for selection that we use. Okay. Apart from that, we can start going into our actual buttons here. Delete button is also quite accessible here in the subtool palette, but I always like to put it in there just because. Actually, I'm going to put it there. So the delete and the duplicate are going to be right there beside each other. Then we have these arrows here, one to bring it up, one to send it down, and these ones are for selection, so we put them for there. They're grayed out because I simply just have the one tool right now, but if I have two, for example, if I duplicate, then these start to come in action. Okay, then we have geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. It's going to be next on our list right there. Then I like to have the splits here. So split hidden, which is grayed out because we don't have anything hidden right now. And the split and mask is going to go there. And then we're going to go with the merges. So merge down, UV. Because the button is small, I like to put the symmetry button right here as well, just to fit there, make it tidy. Then we go into the display on the visibility ones, and well, not visibility, it's actually the display properties. We're going to put the double right here. Let's put it here, and the flip right there. Then we have, on the deformation tab, we have mirror. You can see how all these things are scattered apart, and if we're going to just be clicking on all of them, it's much better to just create a new UI for it. And on the geometry, you have the mirror and weld right here as well. Then we go onto the visibility ones, and we choose the grow all, which is going to go there, and the grow, which is just going to go here. Sometimes you just want to grow a little bit, sometimes you want to grow it all. I'll explain through it as we go. So the crease buttons come next, and that's on the crease button we have uncrease all, which we're going to put here, and we have the crease polygroups, which we're going to put there. Then we have the outer groups button that I like to put in there, so the outer groups would be on the polygroups menu right here. right there. Then the subdivision ones, in case we'd like to smooth the card and then delete the subdivisions, we can use delete lower and delete higher. That's done as well. And then for some specific cases, we might want to polish by crisp edges. This is quite useful for haircuts. And inflate right there. Another thing we can do to this, now that we have all the buttons exposed that we like, we can go to Preferences, Config, and then just turn off the Enable Customize. Okay. Now that everything is more or less in place, you can actually change the colors as well. So if we go to ICC colors, these orange buttons here are actually what you see in orange on the UI. If you are like me and like a different color, then you can choose like green, for example, in there, and then you just go up here and you click wherever you want this to be. I think this green is just too bright, so I'm going to go with something less bright, but maybe more green. And go Preferences and click again. Not really sure I like it. Well, yeah, I like this tone. That's fine. So we click in there. We also click in this one, and we can click on these ones as well, or whatever oranges those things were giving us. And we have a UI. Obviously, this is very cool in blue as well if you want to check really fast. So it's a lot of people use the blue and the purples. So it's really up to you. I like this green here, so I'm going to just keep the green. And that'll be fine. Now that we did this, we're just going to go to Preferences, Config, and save the UI. It will open up the startup folder, which is fine. Custom user interface 2001. If you want to give it a name, you can give it a name. This UI is good for hair, but it's not good for sculpting. So you just might want to put hair UI config. Why not? And you just hit save, and that's great. So that's pretty much it. Now we need to actually start deleting these things and putting our geometry here. So first thing, we're going to insert sphere and then import our hair, which would be in meshes tutorial hair iPoly. It's importing the mesh data. There we have it. Cool. I'm going to turn my color here back to white so that we can actually see what's going on. You take a render, you can see your hairs. This actually got on top of that thing there, so I'm just going to go Preferences, Enable Customize. Move this guy from the way there. Just put this one back, and then Preferences, Enable Customize. And actually save my UI again, which is on another folder right now. So Z Startup. Yeah, great. Okay, so if we take a render now, we can actually see the hair work that we did so far. It's far from great right now. It's just a bunch of hairs, actually looking quite thick as well. So we're gonna fix all that, but we have it here. Now, we need to bring on our low poly as well to take it as a reference. So if we just insert another sphere, click import, go back to our meshes folder and choose the tutorial hair low poly, you'll see that it's right there. Now, ZBrush flips the UVs, and as a matter of good rule of thumb, I don't like to just flip the channels in here, because if you do, when you export it back, ZBrush will automatically flip them again, and you're going to end up with a flipped geometry that you weren't expecting. So the best way to work with ZBrush is actually to invert them before you import them. So I'm going to go open Photoshop really fast. Then I'm going to go File, Open. I'm going to open my air plan. This air plan, I'm going to go Image, Image Rotation, Flip Canvas Vertically. Okay, and then I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call it ZBrush underscore airplan and hit Save. Click OK. And now that we have this, we can go up here to our texture, import, airplan. Well, we were somewhere else because it's not there. So import. Here on the airplan, we have the ZBrush airplan, this one, and now we have it there. So if we solo the plane out, you can see that you have more or less a plan out there that you can use. If you don't want to see the texture, then you just turn the texture off, which is a button we actually have to expose here as well. Let me just go back. So we're refining our, this button here is quite essential. So let's just drag everything down there. References, enable customize. Let's just drag this guy here. All of them. And texture on might be just there. Just put this one to the side, and texture on is just going to be here. So if you don't want to see the texture, you just click texture off, texture on, and you're good to go. Again, we need to go preferences, remove the enable customize, and then save the UI on our startup here. Great. We have everything we need to start working. So in the next lesson, we're going to start to just taking a look at all these geometries and how they work. Okay. Another thing that you might want to do is to go up here to preferences, startup, auto load recent project. This is new with the version 2021.6.2 of ZBrush, and it just keeps loading the last project that you worked on. While it might be useful for you, me that I've been using ZBrush for a long time, it's quite weird. So just remove that and then simply just go to preferences, config, store config. Master configuration file has been saved successfully and will be restored every time you start ZBrush. Okay, so basically when I restart ZBrush now, I should just get the UI and the default scene.